All right, this is Genesis chapter 24. We're going to cover verses 28 through 67. It seems like a lot, but this is part two. And normally I would recap, but I don't need to because the servant does that in this story. So we're going to pick right up and we're going to walk our way through. After meeting Rebekah at the well, she runs back to her mother's house and is like, hey, just saw this guy at the well and he wants to come here for the night. He's traveling. And I told him that we had what we needed for him. And so her brother goes out to meet him. Her brother is like, you know, she ran off and left you out here by this well and didn't give you directions to the house. Let me bring you to the house and let you know that you are, in fact, welcome to come. And so when he sees this nose ring that was given to her and these bracelets, he's like, what's going on? These are pretty expensive gifts for a cup of water. So let me go meet this man and see what his intentions actually are for you. So he goes out and he meets them in verse 31. He was like, come on in, don't worry about it, don't be afraid, you know, we prepared space for you. My sister said you were coming, and won't you come on in, wash your feet, wash your hands, rest yourself, we're gonna get some food together and let you eat. And so in verse 33, the servant says, until I tell you why I'm here, I'm not gonna eat. Because, you know, if in fact you don't agree, I'll just go ahead and get out your hair. I don't want to take nothing from you and you thinking this is something that it's not. Let me state what my business is first. And so in verse 34, he starts to explain what's happening. And in verse 34, he said, look, I'm Abraham's servant. My master has been greatly blessed by the Lord. He is wealthy. He has flocks. He got herds. There's animals everywhere. He's got gold and silver. And his wife, after being barren for so many years and unable to have children, she finally gives birth to this son. And this son is now grown. And he asked me to come back to the land where he's from, come back and look for his family, his kin, and find a wife. Don't find a wife for my son among these people that we live near. They don't have our same culture, our same understanding, our same religion, our same respect. Like, they're different from us. And I don't want that for him. I want him to have a wife that understands the space that we occupy. And so he says, you know, I told my master, like, hey, if she don't want to come with me, what am I supposed to do? I can't just, you know, come to a town and round up a girl and bring her back. Like, what if she doesn't want to do this? And he told me, you know, if I find the woman that I believe is supposed to be his wife, that God is going to make me successful in finding her. And if she does not want to come, then I'm free from this bond that I've made, this word that I've given him. And so I'm coming here today to tell you what happened at the spring. So I went, and as soon as I got there, I prayed that God would make me successful in finding this wife that he's asked me to find, that God would send me the woman that's supposed to be coming to marry the son of my master Abraham. And Rebekah came out, and she did exactly what I asked her to do, what I asked God to let her do. I'm going to ask for a drink of water, and she's going to offer to water my camels. And when she did this, I paused. I listened for God to tell me, nope, that just looked like it. It wasn't the one. And that didn't happen. So I gave her that nose ring, and I gave her these bracelets as a thank you, but also as a sign that this is the woman that I intend to bring back to my master to marry. And so he says in verse 48, that I bowed my head and I worshiped because God led me to the right person. This is the kin that he asked for in the country that he asked for. She's beautiful, and I want to be able to do this and take her back to my master Isaac, or Abraham's son, so that she can be married to him. I feel like this is what God is saying. And he was like, so in verse 49, he says, let me know so I know whether to go, you know, turn to the right or to the left. Meaning, let me know what it is that's going on. If you all agree, then cool, I'll stay. And then we'll work out getting her back to my master to marry. If in fact y'all disagree, let me know and I will get out of here. I don't want to take anything from you. I don't want to lead y'all on. I'm not going to beg and argue and fuss and fight about this. If God said it and he's talking to me and y'all not hearing that, then let me just pull out. Let me just leave this alone because I'm not going to force something. God is going to make this happen. And that's all. And so in verse 50, Laban, who is her brother, and Bethuel is her father. They are like, look, if this come from God, I can't say nothing about it. Like, you prayed and asked and she came. And on top of that, you get here, you explain it, and you're explaining it in a way that makes us feel like the God that we serve and the God that we know is in fact involved in this process. So in verse 51, they said, look, take Rebekah, go ahead, let her marry your master's son, because this is a God thing. I can't interfere with that. She don't have a husband here, and it's cool. Like, obviously, this is what it was supposed to be. In verse 52, his servant worships again. Every time God answers a prayer, every step in this process, he worships God. And in verse 52, and the first time he says he prayed, hey, God of Abraham. And then the second time when he got to worship, he worshiped the God of Abraham who did this thing for me, who saw me and heard me and did this thing for me. This time it says he bowed himself to the ground before the Lord. He ain't even had to go through Abraham no more. He was like, you know what? Right here, thank you, God, for hearing and doing this thing for me and making my journey successful, because I didn't want to go back and have to tell them that I couldn't secure the wife that I was sent out here to secure. And so in verse 53 and 54, he brings out the gifts. They got silver, gold, garments, jewelry, all types of stuff. He gives out gifts, and he gives them to Rebekah. One, because this is a way that they show that she can be provided for. I have these things. I got enough wealth to give it away so that you can rest assured that your daughter will be provided for and taken care of. And so that she understands, here's some gifts for you as well. Like, this is not you coming out here to lead this very miserable, horrible life out in the wilderness. It's real nice out here, and here's the proof of it. And so he eats, and he had, he sits, he eats, he has dinner, they drink, and it's just eating and drinking. Not that they really was tossing back shots, but they hang out. He spends the night there. They have a good evening. They get to know each other. They spend some time talking. And in the morning, he gets up and he says, I would like for you all to send me back to my master. When you stay at somebody's house, you don't just get up and tiptoe out. You have a conversation with him before you leave. And he's like, hey, I would like your blessing to go back and take your daughter. I'm not going to round her up and be like, nah, she belongs to us now. He is saying, I want you to release us from this space. I want you to give us permission to leave. Let me take your daughter. Go ahead and back, and let's do this thing. I came here to find her. I found her. I would like to leave. And so her brother and her mother in verse 55 say, let her stay at least 10 days with us. Let us have, a week and a half, so we can just spend time with her. We know that we're not going to see her again for a good long while. So, and that's if we see her again, because, traveling like this isn't that easy. Like, we're not hopping planes and stuff. We don't have cars. So it's traveling is not always, the easiest thing in the world to do. So they're like, hey, can you just let her stay with us for a little while? And he says, I hear what you're saying, but like, don't delay me. I came here with a mission. I was able to accomplish that. Let me go ahead and go. I don't want to keep going back and forth, because if I give you 10 days, then you'll need 5 more. If I give you 5, we'll need 3 more. And I don't want to go that route. Let me just go ahead and do the thing that I came to do. And so they were like, fine, we'll ask her. If she wants to stay, then she'll stay. If she wants to go, we'll let her go. And so they call her and say, okay, well, that he asked that you marry his master's son, that you're going to marry Isaac, and you got to travel away to do that. Do you want to stay longer, or do you want to go and be his wife? And she said, well, let's do this. I'll go. Come on. Load up the camels. Let's do this. And so they do that. And in verse 60, they bless her. They give her a blessing. Instead of them saying, yeah, you ain't really love us anyways. Instead of the guilt trip that sometimes people will put on you for accepting a new call, accepting a new life, moving outside of what you've known. They give her a blessing and they're like, you know what? I pray that you become the mother of generations. I pray that you are fruitful and that you have an awesome life and that your children are powerful and mighty and they are I'm praying even for the success of your children and grandchildren, the legacy that comes through your body. Like I am praying for that it is success after success after success. And so they get up, they send her with a maid or a nurse, depending on which version you're reading. But it's just someone to go with her. It's the servant that would be with her, like her personal assistant. This is the person that's going to be next to her. This person's going to help protect her. It's going to help her with whatever it is that she needs to do. Everything from getting dressed, cooking, to childbirth. Like this is the person who assists her in life. And because she's traveling with men, it gives her women to travel with so that it is seen as protected. The women are separated from the men. So it's not like her just on the road with, a couple of dudes and it just doesn't look weird or anything. It is a way to make sure that she is in fact safe and protected. And so they travel and we are down in verse 63. Isaac just went out in the evening to walk. He's coming from a particular direction in the land that they are staying in, and he sees camels coming. And when he sees camels coming and they get close enough, Rebekah looks up from one of the camels that she's riding back into that town and sees a person standing in the field. So she stops and she gets down. And when she gets off of the camel, she asks the servant, "Who is that man? Is this the man that I'm going to marry? Is this another servant? Is this somebody that's just wandering through as well?" And the servant tells her, "No, that's him. This is the guy that you're going to marry." So she covers herself. She covers her face because in this culture, she would be veiled until she is married. And then when she's married, she can see him. But on this travel, they riding in the wind blowing and things like that. This is a different situation. So she is going to cover herself so that she can be presented to him. Not like she been on the road all this time, her hair dirty and knotted up. She smelled like she been sitting on a camel for several days. She veils herself so that she's hidden to him until she is in a space and a time where she's ready to be presented as a wife. And so when they get back, she is shown to her tent. She is taken to a place where she can get ready, refreshed from the road, cleaned up, bathed, hair combed and groomed and things like that, and look like she wants to look when she meets him. And so the servant tells him the whole story in verse 66. This is what happened. I prayed and I went to the fountain and this is who I met and this is what happened. And then after all of that, I was successful. I met her family. She agreed to come. We done rode here. She's getting herself all together. Like he talks to her. I worshiped. Me and God got a different understanding now because he came through for me on your behalf. And so in verse 67, it says that Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. He gave her his mother's house. His mother had passed away. All of her possessions are there. This whole big, beautiful space that's hers. And it's now instead of her kind of trying to build her own thing out of nothing, he has a place prepared for her. And it says that she became his wife and he loved her. This is not an arrangement where they just got along. It is an arrangement where he loved her. He cared for her. He enjoyed her personality and presence. This is his person. And so Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. He lost his mother and his mother was very close. They were very close. If you could imagine being 90 years old and having a baby, this my best friend at this point. Like moms and sons already have a tight relationship, but to have waited so long for this child, So of course he was very close to his mother. And so now having this wife has now given him kind of that feminine energy that he needed to just be his best self. He got somebody to show off for again. He got somebody that he can talk to and tell his secrets to and confide in and be comforted. And so recap of everything on this whole story, these 67 verses, is Abraham recognizes that he's getting older and that Sarah has passed on now, and his son is getting ready to be alone. And he's like, I got to find him a wife. So I don't want to find a wife that is among the Canaanite women who are a different culture, a different understanding, religion, relationship. I don't want wives from them. I want a wife from my home country so that he can have what I had with Sarah. And so he sends his servant to go find her. This servant travels back to his home country, to Abraham's home country, and he prays first, God, could you send the woman and have her do these specific things so I know it's the one that you sent? And then the women come out, she shows up. It is Rebekah. Rebekah does the things that he prayed and asked God, and it was immediate. And so he is excited and he worships God for that. Thank you, God, for hearing my prayer and doing this thing for my master. And so after that point, they go back to her house. He meets her family. They discuss her moving with him so that he can introduce her to his master's son, which is Isaac. Isaac is going to be her husband. And she agrees to go. And he tells them the whole story about how he prayed and how he worshiped God and God came through. And they agree that she will be his wife, and he worships God again. And so they pack up and they travel back, and she gets to meet her husband. And when she meets her husband, Isaac loves her, and he is again comforted. He again has his person. He has somebody that he can confide in and trust and love and feel safe with in the way that he had a relationship with his mother prior. Now he has a wife who is all of that and then some. So that is how Isaac gets his wife. We are going to continue moving on, and we are closing, and I think we've officially almost reached the halfway point in the book of Genesis. Genesis is huge, but we are going to keep going, and we're going to be strengthened and made stronger for it. So remember, guys, no matter what it is that you're praying for, no matter what situation you're in, when God moves, you worship. When you are waiting for God to move, you worship. When you are reminded that God moved, you worship. Remember always to worship. Y'all be blessed.